Hi, Prema here, and welcome to Chart Your Path. In today's video, I want to share with you how to create spiritual and material wealth with astrology, and I am a Vedic astrologer, so talking through the lens of Vedic astrology and why that's important to really understand both, because you have both of those energies within you, how it's encoded in your soul blueprint so that your soul is satisfied and you don't have to sell it for the material wealth, but you also can create the kind of material wealth, attract the kind of material wealth that feels right and true for you. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of the videos. And towards the end of the video, I'll be sharing with you a process so that you can really connect in with some deep soul questions that you can answer for yourself around how to create the kind of material and spiritual wealth that's most resonant for you. So even as I say spiritual wealth and material wealth, just notice what that brings up for you. We're actually wired for both, and we all have a really unique wiring for wealth within our chart. And I'm really coming from the premise of the belief that wealth is everything you need to fulfill your purpose. And actually, in Vedic astrology, all your wealth houses follow your purpose houses. And so it's really encoded that way. You know, material wealth, when it's just that we want money for money, and I'm not saying that that's what you want, but and it's not what I want, but there has to be an underlying purpose for our wealth. And that's actually encoded within us. And it's really wonderful to know that. So a lot of times people go for the material wealth first, and a lot of times even think that, wow, I can do the work that I'm even here to do in the world, or all the things that we need and desire to have on a material level. Yes, we need material wealth, but it's really interesting because the way I see it in your soul blueprint, the way I see it through this unique lens, is that it's actually reverse. It's actually the more we can tune into and connect with our spiritual wealth and create our spiritual wealth, that material wealth tends to follow our spiritual wealth. You know, you've heard of plenty of people who have created lots of material wealth and they didn't have that purpose, that deeper meaning in life. Therefore, either their relationships fell apart or they lost it all, or they created that material wealth, that money, and didn't feel that sort of soul satisfaction. There was still something, deeply not at peace, or they even didn't feel free, although they, had the money. But when you really understand the underpinning of why you want that wealth, it's just so incredible, because that really helps to bring in the spiritual piece. So when we're talking about spiritual wealth, like, what is even spiritual wealth? Spiritual wealth is what your soul wants. It is that deep desire for freedom, that feeling of joy or peace, fulfillment at some level. It really comes down to an energy, down to a feeling. It's an essence. It's not necessarily tangible, and that's one of the misnomers, is that, okay, well, that's all fine and good, so I have a sense of peace, but how does that help me pay my bills? But when you flip it around and you really ask yourself the deep questions of, why do you even want to have the material wealth that you want or feel like you need? And yes, we do have human needs. There's usually a reason for that. Maybe it's a sense of, and even as I'm talking about this, really just connect in, what is this for you? Is it a sense of freedom? Is it a sense of security? I see with a lot of women, there'll be a sense of freedom and a sense of security. That's a deep desire. Maybe it's a sense of peace. Maybe it's just this deep fulfillment, or knowing that you are, whatever your feeling of being connected with the divine is. That's a huge amount of currency, because if you think about it, everything is energy first. So if everything's energy first, material wealth, whether it's in the form of money or property or things of any sort, home, the things that we just need to live, it's energy first. Is energetic currency. It's energy before it comes into matter. And that's where conscious creation comes in. I'm not going to talk about that in this video so much, but I'll talk about that in a following video. Paying attention to our energy first, our spiritual wealth first, again, leads us to the material wealth, because materiality springs from the quantum field, springs from consciousness, springs from energy. It's essential that we know what our wealth dream is. So when you know what your wealth dream is, you know what it is that you're wanting on a material level. You're knowing why you want it, which then connects you to the purpose of it. If you're connected to the purpose of it, you're connected to the spiritual side of the wealth. And again, wealth follows purpose within your soul blueprint. So it's essentially, you know what the purpose for the wealth is that you want. So number one is to understand what your wealth dream is, know what it is, write it down, and to find out by asking your soul, which we'll do in just a moment, why it is that you want that wealth. Once you know why you want that wealth, and you have to really dig for the why until you get down to the peace, the freedom, the fulfillment, whatever those more spiritual energies are as far as wealth goes. Once you have that, then you know that, okay, now I'm connected up to the real why. Now you've made the bridge between the spiritual and the material wealth. Now you do have indicators of wealth in your chart. Your Sacred Wealth Code happens to be where your purpose and prosperity planets intersect. It's a Dana Yoga, or where they're placed in your chart. And that's a very precise indicator that connects you to your high value gifts. There are overall indicators that are Jupiter is an overall indicator, and it's very interesting for in 2022 in April, it's just moving in for a whole year until 2023 of April, it's moving into Pisces, which is all about spiritual wealth. Jupiter's always an indicator of expansion, of wealth, of greater knowledge, and in Pisces, for all of us collectively, there is going to be this pull towards more spiritual wealth, for us to really connect with those, the deeper meaning of things, and the deep wisdom that's behind, the energy that's behind things. This will be a collective pull, whether you're aware of it or not. If you're not so aware, you just may end up being sort of checked out, but the soul is desiring to have the abundance, to feel the rewards of spiritual wealth. So we'll see, you'll be probably pulled towards more practices. All of a sudden, maybe you'll take up meditation or yoga. We'll probably see more spiritual communities arise, yoga centers, places for, people to connect on a spiritual level. So you'll feel this natural pull and understand more of what that is. There's a deep desire for that. There's a balance that needs to happen sometimes when we get overboard in one direction and then in another direction. But you do have indicators within your chart that are super, super specific, and then the general indicators. But by understanding your own purpose for wealth, you can on a soul level connect in with that energy, whether you know your astrology or not. So let's just ask a couple of questions to help you get connected with your wealth dream. It'd be useful to have something to write with. If you can always pause this video to give yourself more time to answer the soul questions. It's a process I do with all my clients and all my programs, and it's actually in my book, Your Sacred Wealth Code, if you want to take it deeper. I want to give you today, though, I want you to walk away with knowing what the purpose is for the wealth that you want, and understanding more of what that wealth is as well, so that you've got a sense of the material and a sense of the spiritual. So if you can, take a moment and just close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, take some deep, full breaths. The heart, the mind together. This is where we connect with the soul. This is where we get the juicy answers. This is where we have our truth arise for us. It's also where we're connected to all possibilities. So take a couple of deep breaths through your heart and open up to telling yourself the truth. I want you just to tune in for a moment and connect with what is it that your heart is wanting for you as far as material wealth in the world? What does your heart want for you? And just open up to that question. And whatever comes up for you, you could just do a stream of consciousness and start writing. You could sit in the energy for a bit, and then I encourage you to write it down. What does your heart want for you in terms of material wealth? And then next question is, what will that make possible for you? What will that make possible for you if you have that kind of wealth? What will that make possible for you? And just tune in with that question. And then just ask that question 2 or 3 times. What is that going to make possible for you? What is that going to make possible for you? Just so you dig a little deeper, so you really get to the purpose of that wealth. Like, why? Another way to ask that is, why is it important for you? And write those things down. When you know the why, you know what it's going to make possible for you. You're connected to that deeper meaning. Make sure to ask enough so you dig deep enough so you get to those more spiritual qualities like freedom and peace, joy. It's going to be unique to you, and really trust that. And now at least you know what the wealth is that your heart wants for you, and what it's going to make possible for you. And that is a great start to understanding what your soul wants for you on both the material and the spiritual planes. I firmly believe you're connected to your soul blueprint, whether you ever know your astrology. Just knowing the astrology helps you to get there, really quickly and really laser. So I'd be really interested to hear what came up for you. Please leave me a comment and let me know any questions you have, or what came up for you. I'd love to hear what your wealth dream is and what the purpose is, what that's going to provide for you. And if you haven't already subscribed, if this is resonating for you, subscribe, hit that bell, share this so we can get this information out. And if you want to connect in with any of my work, all the links are down below. All right, so much love to you.